Hi, I'm Sidah Russell. I was the International Media Manager for APEC 2021, and it was my job to make sure media in New Zealand and around the world told our APEC story in the best light possible. I guess when I took the job at APEC New Zealand, I was largely going to be tasked with running a big media centre for Leaders Week, and we were told to expect, about 2,000 media. And to some extent, getting the media to come to New Zealand would have been a challenge, but once here, they were largely a captive audience. So for media, they were now covering a series of virtual meetings throughout the year, happening at terrible times of the day and night. The communications team did two things to overcome the challenge. The first was to create a series of virtual media conferences, highly produced. We wanted to show off our digital capability. They were slick and professional, and they happened throughout the year. And the second thing we did was to try and make it as easy as possible for media to cover APEC remotely. And that meant creating a news team. We generated a lot of media materials, and not just your usual media kits and media releases. We shot footage, we did meeting recordings, we did pictures, and we created a centralised media portal where all that stuff could be downloaded really quickly and easily by media. And in the end, there was two advantages to that approach. By having virtual media conferences, obviously media didn't have to travel here, so we were able to get them engaged a lot earlier in our host year. So they were covering the earlier meetings, not just leaders meetings. And for our ministers and prime ministers, who are our spokespeople, as you can imagine, it was a very busy year with the global pandemic happening in the background. And so that gave them the ability to talk to a lot of media in one time, and not having to sort of try and schedule lots of one-on-one interviews, which played out to advantage, I think. The key outcomes for us during the year, there were quite a few things. The first is we were able to rehearse really by having a series of media conferences, so we incrementally improved throughout the year. By Leaders Week, we were live streaming, and for the Prime Minister's last media conference, we provided a live broadcast feed to the world, which was great. I think our media monitoring shows about 12,000 media results through the year, which is a great achievement. And the other thing I'm really proud of is that we were able to attract top-tier media to those events. When I look back over the year, it was actually the Ministers responsible for Trade media conference that was the most challenging and the most stressful. It was the only time we involved ministers from other economies in the event. So it was a huge juggling act, trying to line up the ministers, trying to line up good media from their economies to ask them questions, and it was really down to the wire. I think in the end, people who watched it and weren't in the room and didn't realise what was going on thought it was seamless and smooth. So I guess one of my key recommendations would be to make sure you have a really good MC to kind of make those transitions as smooth as possible, and no one will ever know.
Join, work, grow together. Haumie, hui e, tai ki e.